Hey everyone, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you stopping by. In this video, I'll be sharing a few real stories told by men, moments where something just felt off, situations that didn't sit right, and experiences that stayed with them afterward. So get comfortable, relax, and let's start with the first story. Something pretty strange happened to me tonight, and now I'm lying in bed with that uneasy feeling where your mind just keeps replaying everything. For some context, I usually go to the gym every night with someone around 9:15 p.m. We finish around 10:15 or 10:30 and walk home together. I live close to the gym, so the walk is only about 10 minutes. Tonight was different. I tried a new workout routine and ended up finishing much later than usual, around 11:10 p.m. My gym buddy finished at the normal time and left about 20 to 30 minutes before me. I'm a young adult male, and I usually wear earphones on my walk home. The route goes through a quiet neighborhood with a community park in the middle. At night, the lighting is dim and spaced far apart, so I always use my phone flashlight to see the ground and stay aware of my surroundings. That night, I decided to walk on the opposite sidewalk from usual because the side I normally take has spiders in the trees this time of year. As I crossed over, I noticed two men ahead of me. One was walking farther in front, and behind him was another man, maybe in his 40s or 50s, average build, short haircut. I ended up relatively close to him, which immediately put me on alert. Normally, when I walk home with my gym buddy, there's no one else around. I tend to be very aware of my surroundings, probably from hearing too many creepy stories over the years, so my mind sometimes jumps to worst-case scenarios. Then something happened. The man suddenly turned around, made direct eye contact with me, and fell into step behind me. In a heavy accent, he said, "Look at the moon, look at the moon." I had my earphones in, so at first I wasn't sure if he was talking to me, but he definitely was. I glanced up and said something like, "Yeah, it's nice. There was a bright full moon that night." He replied, "Isn't it so beautiful?" At first I thought maybe he was just being friendly. But instead of moving on, he started asking where I was from and what my nationality was. On its own, that's not the strangest question, but the setting made it feel off. Late at night, dimly lit sidewalk, me sweaty and tired from the gym. I tried to give signs that I wanted the conversation to end, like putting my earphones back in, but he kept talking. When he asked my nationality again, I tried to dodge it by saying, "Guess." In hindsight, that was a mistake. He guessed correctly on the second try, then started talking about how people around here are friendly. His English was broken and I couldn't understand everything, but then he commented on my phone flashlight. That's when the conversation got strange. He started saying that people shouldn't be on their phones so much, that God created beautiful things like the moon, the ground we walk on, and nature. He said we should always thank God. Then he suddenly brought up children in Palestine being killed, saying that's the devil. He pointed at my phone again and said something about it being connected to the devil. I didn't know how to react, so I just gave short responses like, "Yeah, the devil is bad." Then he said when you have a girlfriend, that's something God gives you, and you shouldn't be on your phone looking at other girls because that's bad. At that point, it felt way too personal, especially coming from a stranger late at night. He didn't seem drunk or high, but something just felt off. My mind was racing. Maybe he was extremely religious and trying to be friendly. Maybe he was trying to recruit me into something. Or maybe he was trying to distract me for something worse. We stood there, just the two of us, for what felt like 6 or 8 minutes. Eventually, I said, "Sorry, I have to go." He replied, Yeah. I put my earphones back in, but then he said, "I'll go with you. I have to walk that way too." My stomach dropped. I started walking faster. Thankfully, he eventually stopped at a car, which I assume was his. As I passed, he muttered things like, "Look at the moon. Don't forget to look at the moon. And I hope it's there tomorrow." I just said, yeah, and sped up, cutting through the dark park until I finally got home. Afterward, I told my gym buddy about it. They said it was definitely eerie, but maybe he was just a very religious person trying to be kind. Personally, it didn't feel that way, especially now that I've had time to think about it. I've decided not to go to the gym that late anymore, and to take a safer route home. And that was the first story. Here's the second one. I'm a 22-year-old guy from Brazil, originally from a very small town. In 2018, I moved to the capital of my state for school and work. For years, nothing bad ever happened to me. No robberies, no creepy encounters, nothing. Even after moving to the city, things were always calm. At the beginning of 2020, I moved into my current apartment complex. I live on the first floor of the first building, which means the area behind my bedroom window is considered a shared space. In all that time, there were never any problems. People usually just passed by without paying attention to the apartments. Everything felt safe. I live with two friends from my hometown and my girlfriend. Last Friday, one of my friends went back to our town, so that night it was just me, my girlfriend, and my other roommate. Around 3 in the morning, my girlfriend and I got home from a bar we go to every Friday. Everything was normal. We ate something, took a shower, and relaxed for a bit. Around 3:30 a.m., my roommate came home too, which made things feel even safer. We invited him to hang out, but he was tired and went to his room. My girlfriend and I went to my bedroom. While we were together, we heard some strange noises outside. At first, we ignored them and kept going. Then, when we shifted positions, we heard it again, the sound of something sliding. I looked toward the window. There was a man's face pressed right up against the window bars, watching us. I have a very short temper, and in that moment, I completely lost it. I smashed the window glass with my bare hands and ran towards the kitchen, grabbing a knife while screaming threats. After a few moments, the adrenaline faded. I realized what I was doing and forced myself to calm down. I called my mom and told her I was coming to stay with her for a few days, back in my hometown. Since then, we've been terrified. We strongly suspect it was our upstairs neighbor. Earlier that day, we had seen him in the same area outside the building. I recognized marks on his face that matched the face I saw at the window. The problem is, we don't have proof. That's what makes it so uncomfortable. We don't know for sure who it was, and knowing whoever it was knows exactly where we live. They knew we'd be out late. They knew which window to look through. The guy we suspect doesn't work or study. He stays home all day, listens to music, and does drugs. Because I have insomnia, I often hear him snorting cocaine late at night. Even now, I can't shake the feeling. Not knowing for sure who it was and knowing they know us is the worst part. I think this is the right place to share this because it really unsettled me. For context, I'm a man living alone in an apartment building. This evening, I was walking into my building when a woman I'd seen around but never really talked to said hello. I'm polite, so I said hello back and started to head inside. Then she asked how I was doing and how my weekend was going. I assumed it was just friendly small talk, so I answered. But right after that, she asked where I worked and how long I'd lived in the building. That immediately threw me off. It still sounded innocent, but it felt like a strange direction for the conversation. And then, almost as soon as I finished answering, she launched into this intense speech. She said something like, "No one has ever helped me. No one offers me help. I'm trying to better myself, but no one will help me. People don't ask me to go out and do fun things. I like to do fun things." I didn't really know what to say, so I awkwardly said something like, "Yeah, that's rough." But the moment I stopped talking, she started again, frustrated, almost exasperated, repeating the same idea. She has no friends, no one helps her, she's a nice person. The whole time, she barely blinked, she wouldn't break eye contact, and it felt like she was physically cornering me, not really letting me move away. At that point, the hair on the back of my neck was standing up, my skin was crawling. Then my building super came out and said she needed me for something, and that gave me an excuse to get inside. Afterwards, she told me not to talk to that woman. I said I thought maybe she was just lonely or socially awkward, but my super insisted avoid her. And honestly, I believe her. Women tend to have good instincts for people who might be dangerous or unstable, so I'm going to follow her advice. At first, I tried to give this woman the benefit of the doubt. I have friends on the spectrum, and I've worked with mentally disabled people before. Part of me wondered if it was something like that. But now, hours later, I still can't shake the uneasy feeling. I don't want to treat someone who's just eccentric like an outcast for no reason, but my gut is screaming at me to be careful.
The next story is about a late-night walk that suddenly turned into something much more unsettling. I've always been a night owl. I like staying up as late as possible, and most of the time that's never been a problem. That night, I got home late from work, and my dog was unusually restless. The only thing that usually calms him down is a walk, so I decided to take him out. By then, it was almost 2 in the morning. I hesitated for a moment. Going out that late made me uneasy, but I reminded myself that I live in a safe city, in a safe neighborhood. I'd gone out at night before, just never that late. I put his leash on and we left the house. After only a few seconds of walking down the sidewalk with nothing but my flashlight lighting the way, I heard 2 young men talking behind me. They were walking on the opposite side of the street. My heart dropped and my throat tightened. What were the odds of crossing paths with someone at that exact hour, especially when I was alone and distracted with my dog? I tried to stay calm and kept walking, picking up my pace slightly while thinking through what I should do. Then it got worse. I heard them cross the street. Now they were behind me. They were close enough that I knew they could reach me in just a few seconds if they wanted to. Panic started to set in. And then one of them made a growling noise. That's when pure adrenaline hit. My fight or flight response kicked in and I chose flight, but not running. I knew that sprinting would probably escalate things. So instead, I speed walked as fast as I could, forcing myself not to look back. I kept going until I finally reached a main street with lights and a few cars passing by. The growling and the footsteps continued right up until I reached that street. Then, suddenly, it stopped. I glanced back and saw them turn around and head the other way. I was incredibly grateful that nothing happened. I waited near a building for a while until I felt safe enough to head home using a different route. That walk was almost completely dark and I was extremely paranoid the entire time, constantly checking behind me. I didn't see them again. I got home safely, locked the door, and just stood there for a moment trying to calm down. At first, I told myself they were probably just dumb teenagers trying to scare someone. But the more I think about it, the more disturbing it feels. Who does that? Who follows someone in the middle of the night, in the dark, and makes growling noises just to scare them? Thankfully, I made it home safe, but I won't be going on late-night walks anymore.
I'm not really sure how to start this, but I just need to get it off my chest. I messed up by having the most awkward kiss of my life with another girl. For context, I've only kissed a couple of girls before, and that was years ago. I barely remember it, and honestly, I never really knew what I was doing back then either. I met this girl a few weeks ago. We went on one date and had been texting a bit since then. Today was her birthday party, and she invited me over. I didn't really know anyone there except for her, so I was pretty quiet and awkward. I wasn't even sure if anything was going to happen between us, so I was just talking to her normally. At some point, a few girls at the party started complimenting me, and for some reason, it completely went to my head. I suddenly felt way more confident than I should have, like I was someone I definitely am not. Later, the birthday girl came back and sat next to me on the couch. She got a little closer, a little more touchy. I decided to just go for it, leaned in, held eye contact, tried to act confident. I thought she looked amazing, but I never actually believed she felt the same way about me. Then she leaned in and asked if she could kiss me. Before I could even respond, her friend walked up and interrupted us. I was in complete shock. I honestly didn't even know she liked me back. A little later, she grabbed my hand and walked me toward the front door. I had to leave early anyway. Right before I left, she kissed me. And I froze. I didn't know what to do. I kept my eyes open because my brain couldn't process what was happening. I was so nervous that when she stopped and kissed my cheek, there was visibly shaking. She walked me to my car, kissed my cheek again, and then kissed me one more time. She told me she'd come over on Monday. And somehow, I froze again. Eyes open, awkward, zero idea what I was doing. I'm pretty sure I gave her the worst kiss of her life, and I've been embarrassed ever since. The thing is, I really like her. I do want to see her again. But she's coming over to my house, and I'm home alone, and I'm terrified she might want to do more than just kiss.
I'm excited, but also incredibly nervous. I have basically no experience, and I'm really hoping I don't mess it up again. I just needed to get that off my chest.
All right, that's where I'll end it for this video. Looking back at these stories, I think what stands out the most is how subtle things can be. Sometimes it's not a loud warning or an obvious danger, it's just a feeling that something isn't right, or a moment that stays in your head longer than it should. Whether it's fear, awkwardness, or just being caught completely off guard, those moments have a way of sticking with you. And honestly, listening to your instincts, even when you're not sure why, can matter more than we realize. Thanks for spending your time here and listening to these stories. I genuinely appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a comment or a like. I always read them. And if you want to hear more real stories like these, you're welcome to subscribe and come back anytime. Take care of yourself, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.